What's up, YouTube? Another gorgeous day in paradise, sitting under this gorgeous tree right here, and thought I'd basically make another little video about Chris D'Elia. What I really want to talk about is I want to talk about his friends and how his friends abandoned him. You know, Bobby Lee, Brian Callen, and I haven't heard from Will Sasso yet, but also Brendan Schwab. Theo Von sort of stuck up for him a little bit. Theo Von didn't really go so far as to say I disown Chris or you know, I'm cutting ties with Chris, but Bobby Lee did, and I think Callen and Brendan Schwab did. And man, that just goes to show, man, like, you don't really have friends in this world, man. You really don't. You think you do, but you really don't. More like acquaintances, more like people that you know who will, shoot the shit with you, hang out with you, go get dinner, blah, 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 right? Laugh, joke, haha. But when it comes down to like real shit, a lot of these friends out here won't do anything for you. Or if you get into some trouble, they won't be there for you, man. But gosh, man, the way they just cut ties with Chris, the way they basically just publicly disowned him, that's brutal. That is ruthless. Now, again, you know, what he did was creepy. What he did was, I'd say, borderline illegal. I mean, it depends on the timeline, but I know the age of consent in California was 16 up until, I think, 2019. So it's technically legal for an older man to hit on a 16, 17-year-old girl up until 2019 in California. Now, I don't know where these girls lived or whatever, but that's just the legality of it. As far as socially goes, as far as like a comedian, I mean, we can all do what we want with our time as far as it's legal, but I would say that really probably killed most of his career. I don't see him coming back from this very well, particularly with the amount of noise that this has caused, the amount of attention that this has caused. It's a lot, and people are. And the irony, or I don't know, irony is not the right word. The weird thing about this is there really hasn't been a case like this to my knowledge. Usually it's just your run-of-the-mill like rape. Not to say that that's boring, or not to say that that's not heavy, real shit, but I'm saying that's more common, right? Like what Louis C.K. did, like, sort of like sexual misconduct where he exposed himself to women, that kind of thing goes on. Is a lot more common. But really, guys hitting on 16, 17-year-olds, that is not common as far as like getting exposed for it. It hasn't been something that we've seen in this whole Me Too movement, which I need to talk about in another video, you know, how the Me Too movement is going to, and how it is like really affecting men and women, really affecting the dynamics between men and women. I mean, men are going to be scared to approach women. Men are going to be scared to hit on women and to have sex with women, because all she's got to do is change her mind, and you're in jail, dude. All she's got to do is, after the fact, retroactively change her mind that she really didn't want to have sex, and you're getting fucked over. You know, like what happened to Aziz Ansari, right? Basically just had a bad sexual experience, and she decided later that it creeped her out, and then she said some shit, and he got in trouble, and like, weird shit, man. I mean, weird dynamic in 2020, man. This whole Me Too movement, of course, it can be used, to attack somebody like it did with Donald Trump. It can be used to, hurt somebody like Amber Heard did with Johnny Depp, which is what we've seen come about and be exposed. And some people are saying that one of the girls, Sophie Lamasi, something like that, which is one of the girls that D'Elia messaged. He messaged her, I think, when she was 17 or 18 or something like that, and he said she was too young for her. And then she messaged him a couple years later and was like, "Oh, hey, I'm 22, or I'm down to fuck," and he didn't respond. So, and she's probably one of the most prominent ones. I think she was the first one to come out and say Chris D'Elia is this, that. So that might have been motivated by revenge. But hey, it doesn't mean he's not creeping on 16, 17-year-old girls, right? It really doesn't. But again, with that said, it's like, it's a strange thing. And it's something that we haven't covered. I know most of the people that I've talked to online, most of the people, that the impression that I get is that people do not like older guys hawking on younger girls, even if it's legal, right? I mean, 18, maybe that's fair game, but personally, for me, I wouldn't hit on a girl younger than 20, 21, 22. Like, it's just, for me, I look at it from a danger factor. I look at it from a factor of like, this girl doesn't know, what she wants. She's not mature enough to know that, maybe she doesn't want to have sex. Maybe like she's not in control of her feelings. Like, I would just get weirded out and afraid that, she would change her mind after the fact. And like, that's just, I need somebody a little more mature. I need somebody who knows they want to have sex. But on the other hand, you never know. It could happen with anybody at any age. And that's something that red pill guys, people who are red pill aware, we need to be cognizant of that. We need to be aware of that. And everybody needs to be aware of that. There's danger that guys are going through. Guys are in danger. Now, with that said, did Chris D'Elia do some scummy shit? I think so. The evidence really points to him, habitually, consistently hawking on young girls, right? Consistently, habitually, hitting up young girls for sex. That's creepy. And also using your fame, using your star power to get sex. But then again, everybody does that. Like, that's a lot of guys' dreams. I'm gonna get famous. I'm gonna get so much pussy when I'm famous. Woo woo woo. Like, that's all these guys dream to do. And then of course you got guys like Elvis, who married Priscilla Presley, I think when she was like 14 or 13 or 14 or something like that. It used to be a okay thing back in the day, like way back, in the 1940s or whatever. And in other countries, the age of consent is like 13, 14, and like the Philippines and shit, it's like 12. That doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make it right. It's not right. I don't think. I think that it should be 18 all over. Age of consent in my state of Washington is 16. I think that's too young. I think they need to change to 18 like California did in 2019. But anyway, I was just taken aback by how, his friends disowned him. That's what I was taken aback by. Just the fact that, his friends jetted out on him. They turned their back on him, and they said I'm disassociating myself with him and all this kind of stuff. And it's so obvious they're doing it for money, right? It's just so obvious they're doing it for money. Like, you don't want to lose money, so you're going to publicly come out and say you don't want to, publicly say you're not going to continue to be friends with Chris D'Elia. And that sucks because, if you watch, I don't know if that sucks, because I guess if they're all phony, I guess if you're fake and you're all phony, then who gives a fuck? Like, but on the other hand, like, these guys got years of history. Like, these guys have been doing podcasts together. These guys have been hanging out together probably at least 8 years, I'd say, maybe longer than that. I think the podcast that Chris did with Will Sasso and Brian Callen, I forget what those were called, but actually they got erased, they got deleted, they got pulled fully. It might have been Will Sasso who did that, because I think that was Will Sasso's channel that those were on. So it looks like they're all uniformly disassociating themselves from Chris, which sucks. And it sucks in a way as far as like loyalty goes. Like, on the one hand, like, no, you can't enable that. You can, and they probably did enable that. There's jokes out there. This is big, man. This is a big scandal, because there's video of them joking about Chris dating underage girls and blah blah blah. They knew. In my mind, these guys are complicit. Well, I don't know if I say complicit, but at least they knew. At least they knew, and they didn't say shit. Maybe they said shit to him behind the scenes, but then again, maybe it was legal back then, and maybe they didn't know the extent to what he was actually doing. Blah blah blah. There's definitely detail there, nuance, but at the end of the day, they're separating themselves from him. And damn, bro, that's cold. He basically got the cold shoulder from all his pals. And the irony is, he's worth a lot more than most of these guys. I think Bobby Lee's only worth like 500K or 900K. I think I Googled it once when I was trying to figure out why Kehlani wanted to date Bobby Lee. Now I realize it's just for the fame. It's for the fame and the money. It's all part of it. But he's only worth like 900K or 1,000, or I'm sorry, 900,000 to $1 million or something like that. That's not a lot. Chris D'Elia is worth like 13 to 16 million. So Chris makes a lot more than these guys, which maybe that's understandable. Maybe they they should disassociate in that sense. Like maybe they would lose money. Maybe Chris understands. Maybe Chris knows his career is over and he'll continue hanging out with these guys behind the scenes. Haven't heard Joe Rogan weigh in on it. I think the only one who stood up for him was Joey Diaz, I think, and I haven't even heard what he fully said, but oh boy, what a scandal. But I'm just tripping off the fact that they publicly, because here's what I'd do. I'd be like, yes, Chris is my friend. Yes, I've been friends with Chris for 8 years or 10 years or whatever. And I wholeheartedly do not condone what he did. I didn't know that he was doing that. Of course, maybe they did know, but like I said, this is what I would say. But I'd say, I would say I'm not going to do anything professionally with him, but Chris will still remain my friend because we have bonds and ties that are, deeper than just the professional business aspect. Like, I would respect that. I'd be like, okay, that's respectable. You're still his friend because you guys have always been friends and real friends. Don't just jump ship like that. You're a quality, loyal friend. But on the other hand, you don't condone that behavior, and you don't want to associate with him until he gets help or whatever. Like, that's more understandable. That's more respectable. But to just be like, oh, I'm done with him, and like, I don't know, bro. That's cringy to me. That's creepy. Like, I wouldn't use the word creepy, but that's just cringy. That's just like, some friends, man, you guys aren't loyal at all. Like, anyway, that just tripped me out, and I want to talk about it. But I hope Chris is doing all right in a way, like, I hope this is humbling for him, like, I hope this is like, he realizes, you know what, I was a dick, I wasn't being humble. I wasn't, he's always boastful. He's always making these arrogant jokes, and those people who they joke like that, but they're not really joking. Like, you can tell this guy's got too much ego. This guy's full of himself. Like, Joe Rogan's not like that. I like Joe Rogan. He's got a very down to earth. Now, I don't always agree on his philosophy of life. I don't always agree on his spirituality of life, but he's a pretty humble guy. Like, he's pretty down to earth. He's not boastful in any way, whether he's joking or not. He's not. I've never once heard him boast or joke like that. Chris is always doing that, and ironically, Chris wasn't really acting like that on Joe Rogan's podcast, but you see him on Fighter and the Kid, you see him on Theo Vaughn, you see him on, with Will Sasso or whatever, and he's always putting his friends down, joking about his friends, and it's like, I mean, maybe in a sense, you can kind of understand why his friends disowned him, I don't know. I don't want to think too much about it. I don't know him, but as somebody who followed him, it's just kind of sad to see his fall. It's kind of sad to see him go out like this, but maybe this will be a humbling experience for him. Of course, he's got a whole lot of money, so I guess it doesn't really put a dent in his in his bank account. Well, we'll see where it goes. He might get sued, but I doubt it. I don't think there's enough evidence for that. But I do think his career is relatively over. I think that he's not, I don't think he's going to be able to get over this one in the court of public opinion. I mean, people forget. The public attention span is probably about 6 weeks, and then beyond that, it's about 6 months. Of course, people are always going to remember this for the rest of his life. He's going to have to live this down, unfortunately. But at least he's rich, and at least he was famous for a while, and he was on top for a while. So he had his rise, and now he's having his fall. So we'll see if he recovers. I don't think he will. I don't know if it matters. Like, I mean, when you got $16 million and you got a bunch of comedy specials, he's already accomplished more than many comics have ever done in their whole lives. And he's only 40, right? So, and he just had a kid, so I think he'll be all right as far as the human aspect. Of course, for the rest of his life, you know, everywhere he goes, people are going to be like, oh, you're a pedophile, oh, you're this and that, and that's going to suck for him, unfortunately. But like I said, at least he's rich. It could be a lot worse. He could be on Skid Row, could be in jail, could lose all his money. I think he's going to survive. I think he'll be all right, you know, but hey, it is what it is. So those are my thoughts on that. Appreciate you guys listening. It's been Jay Lee with Northwest Podcast. Peace.